with the Soldier Boy. Feelings. Like, what are those? Like,
yep.
I don't know what
So
you
for
speak
me,
of.
I wasn't really allowed to emote growing up. Every time I
Mhm.
did emote, I was told I don't have nothing to cry about.
Mhm.
Stop all of that. So it came to a point where, and I know the exact pinpoint where I was able to figure out, okay, this is a problem. It was not shortly after I got separated and we were moving towards my divorce. I couldn't cry. And it was
Mhm.
a thing. Every time I started to feel like I was going to cry, instead of crying, I would throw up. And
Mhm.
I was seeing a therapist. I see a therapist now. I'm not. There's no shame in my game about that. I talk to my therapist. That's my homegirl. But this was a different lady. The only reason why that person isn't my therapist anymore because she moved to Atlanta. So I was like, I don't understand why I can't cry. She was like,
Mhm.
you can cry. Everybody can cry. I was like, no. Whenever I feel emotional, I throw up. And this was in 2016. She was like, you're supposed to be crying. And so we had to like trace back why.
Mhm.
And it was like every time I felt emotional when I was younger, my mom would hit me, you don't have nothing to cry about. There you go. There you go. Meanwhile, my younger sister, she cried. She could cry if she sneezed right now. Homegirl could cry for any reason right now. She 30. And then the world has to stop because she sneezed and is now crying because she sneezed. Cool. But for me, I wasn't allowed to do those things. So when I traced it back, so now I can cry. And now I cry all the time. I cried this morning during service. And my son was like, okay. I cried yesterday when homegirl down the street and they were doing the whole ceremony for her. And my son was like, with the emotions, got it. He would really be like checking me because no, he's about to be 14, so he's a very present kid.
Right.
So he and but then he's also an observer, much like me. So he's watched me change emotionally over the past couple of years, since I've separated from my ex-husband and I've gone to try to be a better person, whatever words, things. He's aware of it. So with me now, I give myself permission to cry, but there are instances where it kind of like there's still a stutter because I don't feel like I kind of regress. Like you're not supposed to be feeling. Why are you feeling? And then I can't say anything and I'm just crying instead of being able to say the words that need to be said.
Right.
So I'm trying to get to a space where I can articulate my feelings because I can articulate my feelings and be cold as a motherfucker, like you said, Jen, cold as ice, and say, "This is why I feel. This is why. That's
Right.
it. That's it." But then there are times when I need to actually invoke emotion to it because this is something that's important to me, and I need to be able to let those things happen at the same time. So yeah, it's difficult, and that's something that I have to be aware of as far as my messaging for my children. Um, and I realized that there's the same kind of conversation with my oldest and my youngest as it was in my household with me and my younger sister. My daughter, she cries, everything in the house has to stop. It's like, why? Everybody's
always
like,
crying.
we're like, why are we crying? Nobody else is crying except her. Why
Right.
are
But
we
why are we
crying?
crying?
And then with my son, I have to like talk to me, tell me why, because I'm gonna hold it in, I'm gonna figure it out, I'm gonna get it done. It is what it is. But I've had to tell him, it's okay to be emotional. So he is actually more comfortable being emoting and expressing himself than I was at that age. He will break down. The last time he kind of broke down was last at the end of last summer when it was like something was supposed to happen. Different parties were supposed to be a part of him wrapping up a project and they weren't available for it. I had to step in at the last minute, do my thing, and he just was like, he was very upset. He was like, blank told me that he would help. Damn, still giving it away. Somebody told me that they would help me with this.
Right.
And they didn't show up and it fucking hurt him. And I just was like, I let him cry. And I'm like, all right, feel it. And we gonna get through it. And we got through it. But yeah, same thing. I wasn't allowed to. I didn't get that permission. And I have to constantly give myself, I literally would have to say, it's okay to feel. to myself. Like, it's okay that you feel like this. It's okay that this fucking sucks. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
you have to be, like I said, you have to pom-pom, you have to coach yourself through things, because at the end of the day, you're the only person inside your head knowing what's going on.
right. I gotta be with myself 24/7.
I'm telling myself, like,
all
yo,
the time.
get it together. Like I told y'all, like in the beginning, like I hate crying. I hate it, and I don't know why. Like I think that, and I had to stop and think. Like the only time I think I cry, like it got to the point where it's like I didn't even cry at funerals. I was just like, another person died. Okay.
Oh my god.
Like like I couldn't, like it didn't like hit me. And then I think the only time like that I did, like somebody died, but then turn around, it was because I wasn't a priority to something. I wasn't like, somebody didn't put my thoughts and my feelings or just me as a priority, and that's what made me break. And then I had to stop and think like, okay, why did that bother you more than somebody passing away?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that it's just like we said self-awareness, that you have to have these conversations, because hopefully you're constantly evolving. You're not the same person that you was yesterday or a year ago. So you kind of have to check in with yourself. But it still is like, you have to be honest with yourself also. And I know I'm not. I lie to myself. Be like, you all right?
Yeah.
I do lie to myself the same way. And I say that I'm
but
all right.
what I've been doing, COVID-19 has been giving me opportunity after opportunity to literally tell myself opposite of saying you're okay. It's been giving me opportunity to just say it's okay that you don't feel okay.
Yeah.
And I've literally sat still and said, you're okay to feel this way. And I text my homegirl. She lives in State College, and we went to college together at Widener, but she moved. Maybe last week, and I was like, girl, I cry every day. Like I have a midday cry. Like what? I'll be sitting here working, and I'll just, something will come up, and I'll think about it, and I'll just sit there and cry. It won't be like a whole full body boo.
Right. But tears rolling down your face.
But it'll be like, I feel shit right now. And I'll just let them go. And I was just like, okay. And then I'll wrap it up and keep it pushing.
Right.
Like, because being an adult, period, is insane. That's the craziest thing this is the craziest thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. Like, I thought being a teenager was wild, because what? But no, this being fully responsible for yourself
and others.
Being fully responsible for others, and then people expecting so much of you, and it's just like, okay, like, hold on. And then in this current climate with COVID-19, it's like everything is so uncertain, and people, there's that statement that goes around like, when everything is uncertain, everything is possible. Okay, bitch, hello.
Right.
I feel you, but I don't feel you, because right now I'm working from my house all the time. I'm tired. I'm ugly, and I do not like any of this.
No.
I put on my mask yesterday to go to Lowe's, y'all. It was high temperature yesterday, and I realized, okay, so clearly we have to have summer masks and winter masks.
Yeah, because we're gonna die.
I'm sweating in this.
But it's like, you can't really have summer masks, because the whole point is to provide a barrier for the germs that can't come in. So we are going to have permanent mask tan lines on our face.
Yeah, it's going to look crazy. No. But I do feel like, I don't know, for me, honestly, I am emotional. I cry all the time.
You are.
I cry all the time over everything. Yeah. And I feel like maybe I didn't realize how much I cried until I had a daughter. So once she got here, I'm like, yo, you cry over everything. She'll be like, can I have a candy bar? No, you just had a cookie. She crying. Why are you crying? Why are you crying over that? Like you're deprived, even though you just went into the Target and bought all this stuff. You gonna sit here at 9 and you gonna cry like this? Okay. But my mom was like, that's you. She was like, do you forget that you cried over everything? She's like, if someone raised their voice, you were crying. And it's true. If you raise your voice at me, I'm probably gonna cry. And no, I'm not sad, but it's just too much. You're doing too much right now, and I don't like it. It triggers me to cry.
A bad friend, because you're just staring at them like,
yes.
I I missed it.
I gotta respect it. I gotta respect it. I'm trying to be a woman who makes the world stop with my tears.
And Toya's talking about she can't talk. No, I can talk through my tears. Tears really streaming.
No, I can't. I can't. I would literally be like, I'll be like, no, Shanice, I'll be like, I'm crying. I'll be like, I can't. I don't know.
Shanice can recite belongs on a soap opera. Like Days of Our Lives, she can get through a whole scene crying and everything. Just fine. Like it's a talent.
And then once the tears stop, I'm like, okay, we're back to normal. Right. Let's go. Good. Let's go to Cold Stone.
That's crazy.
We about to get
I have no words. I know all the words before the tears start. I can tell you everything. Like, I feel this way. These are the things that make sense. This is how I know it's contradictory to what I said before, and I get it. And I'm clear. Like, I get it. As soon as I start crying, unclear. Like, baffled. I'm drowning. I'm like, I don't know. Niggas be like, the fuck?
I thought you weren't bothered. It
don't matter,
but I feel like, so because I know that now about myself, I let her be in her emotions. But then I talk to her like, okay, so what are we crying for? Like, why do you? I'm like, do you think that's a reason to cry? Like, you can cry, but that's not a reason to cry. But also, if you want to cry about it, that's fine. I purchased a room for you, so go cry yourself in your room. And then when you get yourself together, feel free to come back out with the family, reintroduce yourself like a civilized human being. Right. But you can cry, but you gotta cry alone.
Get together.
Yeah, pull it together. But I think the last thing that I just wanted to talk about too was, how do we make sure that we, especially since we have daughters, but we also have sons, so I guess it's multifaceted, but how do we make sure that we pour self-esteem into our kids? I know that for me, a lot of times with my daughter, the same way that like Kayla is always telling you like, oh, mommy, you're so I'm like, hey, cutie, what's that? Like, I feel like I do constantly reinforce that into her, because I don't ever want her to feel like she has to seek the outside validation of anyone. No man, no woman, nobody outside of this house. Nobody. Your validation is going to come from within, because you're going to know that you were a bomb-ass little child from RIP. So you don't need to look for anyone else to be like, oh, you're so cute. No, I almost said this. No, but you are. Like, you walk in, you command your own presence. You don't need anybody to tell you anything. And
no, I get that. I think it's the conversations. I mean, like I said, man, you walk around, man need to go. And I'm like, you only the goat because I am the bigger goat. Like, you gotta respect it. Like, and everything you are is who. And when I'm you know, going through grooming things with Kayla and getting her together, and we're picking out outfits, I tell her she's cute every day. There's not a day goes by that my daughter doesn't hear that she's beautiful, she's smart, and I don't want it all to be a physical thing. So I throw all that stuff at her. She'll be in the kitchen, like doing her chores, and I'm like, oh, you know, you're so attentive today. You're really good at that. Like, just everything you do, you're the greatest at it.
Positive affirmations definitely go a long way.
I think that's the best way to counteract them having any issues growing up. Of course, they're going to come across, you know, being adolescents and being teenagers and stuff that just comes along with socialization. But if we're giving them that foundation, like, yo, you're doing this at the highest level, nobody else does it better. Like, what?
I know. When you talking about Manny the goat, imagine a kid with the last name Savage. Okay, you can't tell that little nigga nothing. Nothing.
Don't tell him nothing, and let him keep going. Both of these kids think they're millionaires, so they think they got all the money.
Co-worker, roommate, neighbor, whatever you want to call it. You're broke. You ain't got no money.
Yes.
But I think also, to answer your question, I think we might have a harder time with things just because our kids are growing up with social media.
Yeah.
And with YouTube and with everything being on the internet, because I constantly have to remind, like, what you see online or on YouTube or whatever, that's not real life. So her big thing is her hair. And I'm like, girl, I wish I had your girls. Like, you do not understand. You like, I just wish half of the curls could like be applied to my head and we'd be good. She's like, well, I want my hair straight. I'm like, you don't have that kind of hair.
Same.
Like if I flat iron your hair, it's gonna revert back in 2 seconds.
In a day.
Hers,
yeah.
Like, well, exactly. Well, my hair is not long, sis. It's called shrinkage. You know,